And I think this is the difference of why somebody goes from what I would consider to be good to great. With that, my good friend Seth Joyner, give him a big hand.
All right, man. Kenny, thanks for the invitation to be a part of such a great endeavor that you guys have put together. Listen, I am honored, I am blessed to be able to take the stage with all of these influential speakers and business people, but my talk's gonna be a little different because those guys are giving you the how-to, they're giving you the knowledge to make your dreams come true. For me, Ken asked me to speak about resiliency. Well, he asked me to speak. He said, what do you want to speak about? I said, I want to talk about resiliency. And then I started reading this book about 2 weeks ago on emotions. And there was so much information in there that I found myself altering some of what I wanted to talk about. So, as you guys know, my name is Seth Joyner. I'm a former NFL linebacker. I played in the league for 13 years, and I played for the Eagles, the Cardinals, the Packers, and the Broncos. Won a Super Bowl ring, my pride and joy, with the Denver Broncos. Thank you. My dream and my journey to play in the NFL is really a memoir, if you will, of resiliency. And I'm going to start off with resiliency, and then I'm going to take you over to emotions, and then I'm going to bring you back to finish with resiliency. So just a quick career highlight. So I grew up in New York, middle child of 3, single-parent home. I know what poverty looks like, I know what it feels like. And at a young age, I resolved to pull myself out of that cycle, if you will. When I was 12 years old, I wrote an essay that said, when I grow up, I'm going to be a professional football player. I'm going to buy my mom a new house and a new car. Mission accomplished. Thank you. And, as I got to, the end of my senior year in high school, I was 195 pounds, same height. I've been this tall since I was in the 9th grade, believe it or not. And there was not very many people, not very many colleges that were looking to recruit a 195-pound linebacker. So I wound up walking on to the University of Texas at El Paso. When I flew in, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I got myself into? Coming from New York, going to El Paso? And I remember getting there, and my mom flew in with me. She had to see where her baby was going, make sure everything was okay. And after 2 days, she said, I'm going home, all good. She took me by the chin, she looked me in my eyes, she said, don't come home. Now, understand, that didn't mean don't come home for Christmas or Easter or the summer. That meant finish what you came here to do. As I progressed through college, my head coach and I, we didn't really see eye to eye. You had this 1982, so you had this New York kid with the advent of hip hop, and I was into that. And I had this old Texas Baptist head coach, he was going to break me in. I was going to be unbreakable. So for 4 years, we kind of went back and forth, head to head. So by the time I got to my senior year, the scouts started to come in for the NFL draft. And they began to, have these meetings with the coaches, and the scout from the Miami Dolphins says to me, he says, I don't know what you did to your head coach, but he don't have nothing good to say about you. And at that moment, I realized, what I was up against. But I'm a man of faith, and I firmly believe what it is that God has for me. No one or nothing can take it from me. I'm going to receive it. So I get drafted in the 8th round after probably being in the top 5 linebackers coming out that year. And I get drafted to the Eagles. I go to the Eagles. The Eagles had drafted 3 other linebackers in front of me, and along with all the veterans that was on the team. As fortune would have it, you get to the last cut, and I got cut, got released from the team. But when I got released, Buddy Ryan said, hey, we're going to bring you back. We got some moves to make. Hold tight. So I sat at home, and I watched for 2 weeks the Eagles play the defending Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears. Then I watched them go to Washington and play, the now Washington Commanders. And when that game was over, I was just going stir crazy. I was just an emotional mess. So I got in my car and I drove back down to Philadelphia from New York, and I walked into Buddy's office and said, Coach, you gave me your word that you were going to bring me back. I said, I'm going stir crazy now. I got to do something. So by the time I got in my car and drove back to New York, an hour and 30 minutes, when I walked in, my mom was standing there smiling. She said, Coach Ryan said, have your ass at practice tomorrow, and the rest is kind of history. Okay? So when you talk about resiliency, and that's just a shadow of some of the things that transpired and, what I had to overcome. And like I said, I get it. This is a financial freedom, a financial deal. But I feel really strong about resiliency and how that affects what you're trying to accomplish, and also the emotional side of it. Because let's be honest. The only thing that's more emotional than money is relationship. Would you agree? The relationship that you have with your wife or your significant other, your kids, your mother, your father, your family, okay, that's emotional. But what's really emotional is money, because money affects that as well, those relationships. And it affects people in a way that when you don't have money, you're trying to figure out how to get some. It's emotional, right? When you got a little bit, you're trying to figure out how to get some more. It's emotional. And when you got some, you're trying to figure out how to invest it and make some more. It's emotional. Every decision you make as far as money is concerned is an emotional decision, okay? So I told you I was going to talk about resiliency for a moment. To understand resiliency, you got to understand emotion. They're both critical to your success. The mind is a powerful tool. It might be the most powerful tool, force, or weapon that we possess. That's the prime reason why, I really want to address it in this talk. Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines resiliency as the ability to recover from or adjust to misfortune, change, or compressive stress. So before I segue into emotions, I want to share with you an equation that at the end, I'm going to go back and I'm going to give you the answer to this equation. I believe that it's important for mental fortitude. So the acronym is GIGO, okay? Remember that, GIGO, G-I-G-O. And it's powered by BTSA. I'll clarify later, okay? So now emotions, let's talk about emotions, how they affect resiliency and success. Merriam-Webster dictionary defines emotions as a conscious mental reaction such as anger or fear, subjectively experienced as a strong feeling usually directed toward a specific object and typically accompanied by a physiological and behavioral change in the body, a state of feeling, okay? I got to go a step further, because if I believe that emotions are a psychological thing, then I got to tell you what the American Psychological Association says about emotions. It says it's a complex pattern involving experimental, behavioral, or physiological elements. So emotions are elements of the brain and mind, thoughts and beliefs and they're driven by happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust. You want to know why we're such a mess? Because that's only 6 of 27 emotions that we have to deal with, okay? Just 6 of them. But emotions are thought messages, if you will, because they start in the mind, but they're messages. The same way when you feel pain in your body, that pain is trying to tell you, hey, you know, something's wrong, something's off. Go to the doctor, get some medical attention. Same thing is happening with your emotions. When your emotions are out of balance, it's telling you that something's off. There's something that you need to address, okay? If you walk into a deal and something's off, your emotions are the barometer for what's really happening. It's trying to tell you that something isn't right, okay? From childhood to adulthood, what your mind is doing, it is chronicling every single thing that happens in your life. And what it does is it creates a feedback loophole and a story. We all got a story. We all got something that happened in our youth that created an experience. And in order for the mind to protect itself, it creates these feedback loops and it creates these stories, okay? And the minute that something goes sideways, that feedback loop plays as a reminder, okay? So to understand emotions, we need to understand the brain and its immense power. The brain's only concern is our survival. And it'll do whatever it has to do at any cost to make sure that it survives. When we experience pain, suffering, failure, rejection, the brain is seeking some way to escape or some kind of refuge because it's trying to protect itself. Some find it in alcohol, some find it in drugs, some find it in denial. Like that whole week that I was cut from those 2 weeks that I was cut from the Eagles, yeah. I laid on my mother's couch, licking my wounds, feeling sorry for myself, woe is me, coming up with 100 reasons why it was everybody else's fault that I didn't make the team except for mine. So you see what I mean when I say we create these stories to try to make ourselves feel good. But emotions have to be confronted in the now, right now. You got to face it. Or we risk attracting like emotions and creating or enforcing new negative stories to the feedback loop, all right? So let's transition over to fear. Let's talk about fear for a second because that's a big that's one of those emotions, right? I believe that fear is the gateway to negative emotions, okay? And there's 2 types. There's spontaneous fear. That's the fear that's external. And when you think about our ancestors, while they're out hunting the next meal, something's hunting them to be the next meal, right? Okay? And they don't know it until the last second. But that fear is real. It's imminent. See, we don't really live in that world anymore. We're pretty much the top of the food chain, if you will. But the next fear, the second one, is self-generated fear, okay? We worry and have anxiety about what may happen, what could happen, you know, and it's nonsensical. It's nonsensical. Instead of trying to see and figure out what the thing is going to be, we sit back and we worry about it. And that fear is just as damaging to us as the spontaneous fear, okay? I'll give you another story about the self-generated fear. So the first game that I played in the NFL, I walk out for warm-ups, and I'm looking in the stadium, I'm like, my God, look at all of these people. And then I look outside of the field, and all of these guys that I grew up idolizing, all of these guys that I grew up watching, they're down there warming up. And I'm like, inside, I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? Okay? There's that self-doubt. There's that fear. But then what did I find out? As time went on, I began to understand that, you know what? And I started playing, and I started to get better, and things started to happen for me. And then one day I realized, I said, you know what? Hey, I can survive here. And then all of a sudden it went up another notch, and I started to make plays, and I became the permanent starter. The same coach that cut me brought me back. The first game I started, he called me in on Wednesday morning, on Tuesday morning, and said, and when they called me, I'm like, here we go again. They're about to cut me again. I'm about to experience this all over again. Before I even got in there and heard what he said, the worry and the anxiety had already set in. So I walk in his office and he says, make sure you learn your stuff this week because I'm starting you, not because I want to, but because I have to. The mind is such a powerful thing because 1 second there's worry and anxiety about going to see him. But when I came back the first week that I was back from being cut, I had resolved at that point in time that I was never leaving. I was never going to put myself in a situation where I didn't do everything that was necessary for me to be on that team and be prevalent on that team. And then I get the call, and he tells me I'm starting, and I'm walking in already worried. It made no sense whatsoever. So fear can become larger than life if we're not just aware of it. It can be insurmountable giants for some people because they can never get over it. Fear, I know you guys heard this, is false evidence appearing real. So we got to determine, is it true or is it a lie? Because we repeatedly become the story or the truth that we tell ourselves. Our perception is our own reality, correct? The truth stands on its own. And one of my favorite authors, David K. Reynolds, says, in every lie is a kernel of truth. Behind every neurotic symptom or emotion is a misguided desire to live life fully and to live it well. So when we take those lies in, especially fears, and we know that their false evidence is appearing real, you see the kind of pain that we create for ourselves. Our emotions are either tempered or they rise from automatic response. It's not like we sit around and we think about it and it comes on us. It's just, it happens because of that feedback loop. And they're like magnets. That's why you kind of got to be cognizant of what's going on, because they'll attract other bad emotions. If you lock on the anger, you lock on the fear, guess what you attract? More anger, more fear. Okay? Another one of my favorite authors, Ralph Emerson Waldo. He says, you are what you think about all day long, quote unquote. Okay? So be careful, be conscious of the thoughts that you think, because they live. And I would be remiss to talk about emotions and fear if I didn't bring up that big four-letter word, ego. Ego, okay? It's a force to be reckoned with, no doubt. It's also interesting that the ego, like the brain, fights for survival. It's even worse, the measures that it will go to survive. It creates stories, but it creates them through identity, okay? And its only concern is acquiring things, achievement, or gaining status. Outward appearances. That's what it really cares about. So your ego will use names. It'll use your body. It'll use the past. It'll use thoughts and beliefs. It'll use money or a job to create that identity. It really has a superiority complex is what it is. It wants to be in charge, and it really knows it's not in charge. But sometimes it gains the power that it needs, and it'll do what it needs to do to survive. And it thrives off the acknowledgement of others. People always ask me, so-and-so said this, what do you think? I don't care. Is so-and-so paying my bills? Is so-and-so paying for my clothes? Are they keeping a roof over my head? Why do I care what someone else says? But the person who's driven by ego, they need that. They need someone to tell you, oh, you look fine. Oh, I haven't seen you in a week. Did you lose some weight? They strive on that. They have to have it. And the thing about the eagle, when it's challenged, oh, look out. It will fight to the bitter end. So, emotions, fear, ego. So now, let's talk about mindset and how do we recondition those emotions for resiliency. Listen, every situation, everything that you go through, when I got cut, let me tell you something, it was the best thing that could ever happen to me. Because had I made the team, how things were presently constructed, then I wouldn't have never understood the importance of having something that you love and your dream taken away for a little while. Because it created a whole different resolve in me when I came back. So there's always something positive about what you experience, good or bad. It's all about how you see it. It's all about how you look at it. So every situation presents an opportunity for self-growth and character development. So your thoughts control your emotions. Therefore, they control your feelings. And some thoughts should be held on to. The good stuff, keep it, okay? But a lot of the stuff, you need to let it go, okay? And those thoughts, they come from a myriad of different places. You know, people wonder sometimes, you know, what the heck is going on? Why am I thinking these thoughts? You know, you got other people that are suggesting things to you. I don't know how many of you guys, I told you I'm a man of faith, so I do believe in the spirit realm. There are things that are headed your way at all times. You got to know what to take in and know what's not beneficial for you. If you want to change the way you feel, change your thought. Change the way you think, okay? And in order to bring on this reconditioning of the mind, it's going to take some unbiased self-reflection. Observe how you feel in those times where the negative thoughts are, and observe your actions and your reactions during those times, okay? Because a lot of times we just kind of go through things subconsciously and then we react to them subconsciously. What I'm here to do is get you to think. That's all I want you to do. Well, anytime that I speak, anytime that I talk, anytime I'm trying to give advice to anybody, I'm just trying to get people to think, because we live so much of life by default. And these are things that I guarantee you each and every one of us know. We just don't apply it on an everyday basis, okay? So, as I transition back to resiliency, and I see I might even be ahead of myself, so I might open up for some questions today. I gave you the American Psychological Association definition of emotions. Let me share with you what they say about resiliency. It is the process and outcome of successfully adapting to different or challenging life experiences, especially through mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility and adjustments to external and internal demands, okay? So now, let me give you 6 building blocks for resiliency, okay? Commitment. Focus on finishing what you start no matter what. Refuse to give up, refuse to give in, okay? Exhaust all your resources. We have infinitely more resources than we could ever imagine. I just got done reading a book that talked about the people that we know that we didn't think we knew. And it's really all about tapping into those people. See, I have a really hard time. My wife is sitting back there, and she tells me all the time, you know so many people. There shouldn't be anything that you shouldn't be able to get accomplished if you really want to get it accomplished. My problem is, I have a problem asking. Yeah, you too, huh? Yeah. So I do broadcasting in Philadelphia for the Eagles game. I just got the okay to do my own show, but I got to go and sell it. So guess what I'm doing? I'm asking a whole lot of people to partner and sponsor my show. So I got to get out of my comfort zone. I digress. Let me go back to commitment, okay? Because at the end of the day, you don't need everybody to tell you yes. You don't need everybody to agree with you. All you need is one person to make it happen. If you got a business endeavor, you can ask 20 people to say no. All you need is one to get done what you want to get done, okay? And then lastly, as far as commitment is concerned, commit to doing 10 times the amount of work that's required or asked of you, okay? Resiliency always pays off under those auspices. Bear with me one sec. 2, 3, 4. So, second one, let's talk about discipline. So an old trainer of mine told me one time, he said, let me give you the definition of discipline. And he said, don't ever forget it, and I never have. He said, discipline is doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, whether you like it or not, whether you feel like it or not, every day. That's how you become resilient, okay? Doing what needs to be done. Creating a system of work and sticking to it. So every day you gotta have a regimen. Every day you gotta have some kind of system that allows you to get your work done so everything is not scattered. Gotta have it. And then I always tell my son, it's funny, I said, son, do things the right way. Just do it the right way. And I say, you know, there's two ways of doing things. There's the right way, and again. You guys like that, huh? Yeah, because you know, if you don't do it the right way, no matter what it is that you're doing, if you don't do it the right way, you're going to have to do it again. No matter what the circumstances are. I learned that growing up as a kid because, you know, my mom was like tough on us. And we had to clean up and whatnot. And if we didn't do it right, she'd throw all the dishes back in the sink and make you wash them again. So visualization is the next one, okay? You got to be able to, in your mind's eye, see the end from the beginning. Got to be able to see it. Again, this dealing with the realm of the unseen, because I think it's important. And let me give you a little example of that. I didn't figure this out until like late in my career. But what I would do on Saturday night before every game is I would lay in the bed after my roommate would go to sleep. It's quiet. And I would close my eyes. And I would visualize the game the next day. Trying to figure out, okay, are we at home? I hear the home crowd. If we're on the road, I hear the opposition of the opposing team. I smell the grass. I can smell it. I can feel the energy. I can either feel the heat or I can feel the cold. And then the more relaxed I get, then I start visualizing myself making plays. I'm making a tackle. I'm getting an interception. I'm getting a sack. I'm recovering a fumble. Why is that important? Because have you ever seen a guy go to make an interception, the ball hits him in the hands, and he's standing there looking at his hands like, you know, his hands failed him? You want to know why? Because he's never painted the picture in his mind of what's to come. If you want success, you got to be able to see it. A lot of times, your ability to see it or believe it before you even get it is more crucial than anything that you do, because it helps you do everything else that's necessary to accomplishing what you want to accomplish. The next one, self-belief, faith. I'm a man of faith. I just believe that there's enough negativity in this world and enough people that will tell you what you can't do that you got to tell yourself what you can do. Self-belief is one of the most important things. When I talk about athletics, when you get to the NFL level, there is 1,696 players if you count up the 53-man roster. That's not including the practice squad, okay? When you get to that level, almost everybody on the roster can play. There's still, you know, some variances. Some guys are better than other guys. But when you make a roster, you're one of the best of the best. You want to know what separates good players and average players from great players? Confidence. Confidence. I learned that a long time ago. And what I also learned is that deep down inside, like, you don't have to be a jerk. You don't have to be a jerk you don't have to be conceited. But in order for you to be great at something, like deep down inside where you keep it in here and only you know it, you got to think that you the bomb.com. You got to think you the best thing since sliced bread. Because if you don't, somebody else does. And they're coming for you. Life is about competition. Okay? You can be realistic. There are players I played against that I knew were bigger, stronger, faster than I was, and I was a trash talker because I was all about the mental game. If I can get you thinking about something you ain't supposed to be thinking about, I got an advantage. But I also knew that when I played against guys that were bigger, stronger, faster than I was, it's incumbent upon me to keep my damn mouth shut. I didn't want to throw gas on the fire. So the next one is learning from your setbacks. I kind of talked about it earlier, how we always think, we kind of always flash back to, the bad things that happen, and we never take advantage of, we don't never learn and draw from, the good things that happen. Setbacks and failures aren't a death sentence. I think, we're finally in an age where we can look at failure and understand that there's something to be learned from it. So we got to learn from it. Sometimes you need to take 2 steps backwards to go forwards. And the universe sometimes is testing you. It's testing your commitment. The universe is testing, do you really want what you say you want? The universe is saying, I got everything that you want. Prove to me that you want it. So I'm going to throw a mountain in your path. Most people throw up their hands, oh, it's a mountain, nothing I can do. No. I'm going through it. I'm going over it. I'm going around it. And if I have to, I'll go under it. Because that's the only way. And listen, the universe is committed. If you give that kind of effort and you have that kind of resiliency and you have that kind of grit and determination, oh, and there's another book, Ken, Grit by Angela Duckworth. Great book. If you show that, the universe has no other option but then to release its rewards and its resources to you. That's a fact. But so many people give up when success is right around the corner for them. Okay? The last one is affirmative self-talk. Okay? What are you saying to yourself? And this is important. Because in order for me to think that I'm the bomb.com, I got to be talking the right way to myself, correct? I can't be calling myself a dum-dum when I hit my 3-wood in the woods and think that I'm the bomb.com. Can't do it. Too many people, listen, when I went away to college, okay, before I made my decision to go to UTEP, my guidance counselor was my offensive line coach. I walked into his office, coach, want to go to college, so on and so forth. He pulls out my file. He was like, well, I don't think that you can handle the academics on a Division I level. So a side of me was like really pissed. And then years later, when I really thought about it, I'm like, your work was the proof. What are you mad about? He wasn't telling you nothing but the truth. But him saying what he said lit a fire under me. I'm like, I'm going to show you, everybody else in this little hick-ass town, what I'm going to become. It lit a fire under me, okay? So I continue to think and talk positively, for myself. Listen, you got to tell yourself, you're enough. When those voices crop up, I'm enough. I'm worthy. I'm smart enough. I possess inside of me, because your true power is inside of you, I possess inside of me everything that I need for success. And I got the wherewithal to go and seek the information that I don't have and be confident about it. Because there are a lot of great people. Hey, listen, I don't know everything about residential apartment real estate, but guess where I can go get the information? That guy sitting back there, he knows. And he'd love to give me all the information I need. That's the thing about people who are successful and people who have information. That's why this thing is such a success, because these people want to give you the knowledge that they had. And I applaud you guys for being here. In closing, you remember I talked to you about GIGO, okay? And I talked to you about TVSA. And I want to end with that, and I want to give you an idea of what that means. So, GIGGLE means when you're thinking, it's either good in, which produces good out, or it's garbage in and garbage out. Okay? That's how your brain works. That's the hardware. The software is, okay, the BTSA. And what's that? Let's start with beliefs. Okay? What you believe about yourself is so critical. It's so critical. And I know some of this is redundant, but it needs to be. Okay? You need to believe that you're good enough, that you're smart enough to be successful. In order to be successful, your thoughts, that's the T, powerful. You only want to embody positive and affirmative thoughts if you're going to be successful. And then your speech. The words are invisible seeds. So every single time that you say something, negative or positive, you're planting it. You're planting it in the ether of the unseen. And it's going to bear fruit. I promise you that. For the good or for the bad. And then the last one is action. And just because you guys are here, I believe that you're going to take massive action. Listen, action so massive that it makes you uncomfortable. That's how you know you're growing. Correct? Okay. So our brains are like this supercomputer, right? And each day we got to update and upload the information that's necessary, all right, in order to really access our true power. And to be honest with you, let's think about this. Let's think about this BTSP, because your beliefs will always precede your thoughts. Your thoughts. You'll only say what you believe, unless you're a liar. Correct? See, your words and your beliefs have to align with your thoughts, because you'll only act upon that which you believe, what you think about, and what you speak on. That's all you'll do. Okay? That's my time, or that's my speech. I got a couple of minutes left. I am thrilled to be on this stage and thrilled to see all of you guys. The last 3 years have been hell. I'm just happy to see a whole bunch of people in one place at the same time. All right? So questions. I probably got time for maybe one or two. I'm looking at the clock back there, and the young lady has the mic right here. This gentleman right here threw his hand up first, so he gets the first question.
Thanks for taking my question. Mm-hmm. So you talked about how to deal with failure and how to deal with challenges and things like that. Give us a little bit of insight on how to deal with success.
How to deal with success? Well, a lot of times success, it's already in you. I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, you're so down to earth, you're so different. I was like, listen, I was Seth Joyner when I was poor, before I became a football player. And when they take it away from me and people begin to forget about me, guess what? I'm still going to be Seth Joyner. So they don't need me trying to act high and mighty just because, I'm a professional football player. Stay balanced. Stay where you are. The only thing that money does and success does is it exposes who and what you truly are. If you're a piece of crap and you get a bunch of money, guess what? You become a bigger turd. One more. This gentleman, he's down the aisle there.
Thank you for taking my question. Mm-hmm. My question is, you talked about ego, and when you're a football player and then transitioning into a new career, how did you transition that ego into the next career so I'm a real estate agent right now, but I want
Right.
to shift into a different career, and it's hard to, because I've been number one for a long time and I want to transition. How do you do that?
Everything is a process, right? In order for me to become a professional football player, I had to play pee-wee football. I had to play junior high school football. I had to play high school, college, and then get to the ultimate level, which is the NFL. It's no different than what you're talking about, okay? So I could be the dude over here, you know, as a football player. I played 13 years and went to 3 Pro Bowls, 2-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, 2-time MVP on one of the best defenses, you know, historically, debatably. But the minute I step out of that realm and I step into a realm of maybe real estate or investing, I'm stepping out of my lane. So guess what I got to do? I got to go all the way back to zero and start all over again and learn and step by step master what needs to be mastered in order for me to be successful in the next realm. What most people want to do is they just want to jump from one thing to the other thinking that they should master it, and that's a recipe for success and doom. Trust me. 2007, 2008 taught me that lesson. Thought I knew something about real estate and got my ass handed to me. But fortunately, you know, the man upstairs shined on me and brought me through it. But that's just a lesson. Understand everything that you can before you try to go big. Make your mistakes in a small way. So by the time you move to the big stuff, you've already mastered it. You know what you're doing. All right? Hey, thank you guys. That's my time. I appreciate you.